Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and I'm reading Clone Conspiracy Omega, issue number 1. Now, this is Spider-Man, of course, and it's labeled number 1, and I don't like it when they do this because I really doubt there's going to be a number 2, so what's the purpose of putting number 1 on there? 20 years from now, people will be looking at this going crazy. Where's number 2? Unless they watch Comic Book University. Either way, this is a good little story here. This is a slightly oversized book, and it's got 3 stories in it. We've got Dan Slott and Christos Cage writing for Collateral Damage. That's the main story in here, where we have the aftermath of one of the aftermaths. There's more than one of the clone conspiracy, and mostly it's just putting little pieces back together again. There's a really cool, like the cover, that's where you have the Rhino going crazy, and it was really just, it was dumb how he got activated, so to speak. He shouldn't have been messed with the way that he was. It's just whatever. And once again, this entire issue, it really goes to the heart of why I'm not such a huge fan of Peter Parker Spider-Man anymore, because all he ever does, like when I was a kid and he beat people up, okay, whatever, he's beating people up, but now he's just, again, he's still beating people up, and he's not talking first, he's not thinking first, and he's supposed to be a smart guy, but all he ever does is use his fists. And it mostly has to do with the way that Dan Slott writes him, but I believe that he's writing him very good, in line with the way that Peter has always been shown for the most part. We then move on to the Give Us a Wink storyline, where it's just kind of how the Ben Reilly clone kind of moves along, and he's always been a clone, so he's just another clone, but he's an eaten up clone, and I like that he's so beaten up the way that he is. And he kind of moves on. It's just how he gets a couple extra bucks. He completely screws over Dr. Rita Carson, and it's very interesting the way he does it. It's kind of duh, but it's good. It actually reminded me of a Jack Reacher moment from the movie that just came out not too long ago, the first one, though. And this was written by Peter David, one of my favorite Hulk authors, and Mark Bagley penciled it. So it was a very good team up for the creative process that I enjoyed a lot on this particular story. The last story is King's Favor, and once again, this is Dan Slott solo with Stuart Immonen, and maybe I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but that's just sorry. Anyway, he's the penciler on this, and I enjoyed this story. I think not necessarily the most, but it was the most realistic of it. The Kingpin owed Peter Parker a favor from several issues ago, and the Kingpin is choosing the time and place to repay the favor. And of course, Spider-Man gets all up in his face. It is hard to see Kingpin as any sort of a threat to Peter Parker, to Spider-Man, because, I mean, after the Back in Black, like, that's it. Kingpin never really stood a chance, truly, against Spider-Man. He's much better as a Daredevil villain, but when push comes to shove, I do still enjoy seeing these two dealing with each other, because Kingpin can't be the tough guy anymore, especially not after Back in Black. Forget about it. But this was good. This is the Kingpin the way he should be. He was called Fat Man. He didn't let anything bother him. Nothing got to him. Even when Spider-Man ripped apart the table right in front of him that he was eating from, he didn't react. He showed that he's much more mature. Than no matter how old Peter Parker gets, he's still going to be that immature, impetuous little brat. And I love when he's called impetuous. Anyway, so he gives him a thumb drive that shows where to find the Green Goblin, Harry Osborn. And of course, even though Peter is just all sorts of pissed off about everything, he hears that and he's like, okay, done, we're even. So, duh, like, just, yeah, I know, one of the smartest men in the world, but too dumb to just stop. And that's something that you find often. There's a difference between intellectual IQ, right? The intellectual quotient, I know, but your smarts IQ, and also EQ. That's your emotional quotient. And Peter Parker has a very, very low EQ. And that's cool. That's who he is. And I enjoy seeing him written that way. So I'm going to give this comic an A. I very much enjoyed it. 3 separate stories, a guest writer, and Peter David is always welcome. In any story he's going to write, he's always welcome in my book. So, yeah, I enjoyed this very much. I think that you guys will enjoy it too. Guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.